So, welcome. We're live. Having a few people already in the chat, so that's going to be nice. I wanted to introduce my new co-hosts first, um, Charis. So I hope people will leave some messages because I want to keep Charis as my regular co-host, and Charis not quite sure about that. Correct? Okay,
I might come
Charis,
around. We'll
make
see.
make a short make a short introduction to the people that haven't heard you before.
Um, well, I have lived from East Coast to West. I was raised as a very strict Christian, and during my adult Christian life, I've suffered a lot of abuse, which led me to exiting fundamentalism, though I was still in Christendom. And I started going over to Wicca and then back to Christianity. And eventually, through the kindness of a community of atheists, a rather large one, I was able to relax a bit around atheists, learn what they had to say for themselves, and it kind of fell into place from there through evidence from videos and books. Um, I kind of became born again,
Okay,
except not to Christianity.
okay. So, yeah, I've asked you to become my co-host because I think that we would at least complement each other uh, in what we can do because I lack a lot of knowledge when it comes to actually being a Christian, and that's where I think that your knowledge could be vital and could be useful to having a chat. Today, our guest is from Pennsylvania, Michele. Hey,
Hi.
Michele,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Hi.
Pretty good.
Okay. Um, so, people pointed me to you on Twitter. At least one of them is in the chat, which is Renee. Um, you are at the moment still a theist, and you're Catholic, if I remember well.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
Close enough.
and you're in between being a Catholic and being an atheist. Is that correct?
Yes.
Searching, I think, would be one correct term. An applicable term would be searching, considering.
Maybe.
So tell us about that.
Well, the thing of it is, the Christians don't know and the atheists don't know. Nobody knows. So how can I pick one or the other, really? I mean, you can know 99.999%, but nobody knows 100% what's going to happen when you die. Period.
That's pretty much what we say. We can't know. We don't really say that we know what happens when we die, or we know that God does not exist. Why am I gesturing? Nobody can see me. What we're saying is we don't believe that necessarily because we have not been shown adequate evidence to convince us of that. So what we're saying as atheists or agnostic atheists is no, we don't know. And if the person who's speaking to us doesn't know either, it's weird for them to claim that they do know or that they can know. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm not claiming one way or the other. I'm just saying,
And that's kind of where we're at.
yeah. Yeah, I claim nothing one way, like I said, one way or the other. I
Okay, but
kind of believe both in a weird way.
are you still attending church then?
Oh no, not for years. I never felt like I belonged there.
You never felt that you belonged there in how do you mean?
I always felt like I wasn't good enough to be there in a holy place. That's how they made us feel. Well, made me feel, anyways.
Sorry to hear that.
Was
I didn't catch that completely. Can you say that again?
even as a little kid, I didn't feel like I belonged in the church because I didn't feel like I was good enough to be there. You know,
Wow.
it's a holy place, and they always told me that I was so full of sin. You know, how dare I go into a holy place like that? So I never felt good there. You know, it started young, 5, kindergarten,
Hmm. Yeah.
Sunday school.
So and they basically told you that you weren't good enough?
No, they didn't come right out and say that, but I
It's
mean,
the
even if you
impression that's given.
yeah, I mean, even if you have a bad thought, it's like you actually committed. Like, say you thought about slapping your mom, you
Hmm.
might as well have slapped your mom because you already committed that sin by thinking it.
Yes.
So my thoughts
I
were
think
even controlled. You know what I mean?
well that's basically what Christianity is, because you in Christianity you can be judged for a thought crime, which I think is one of the most horrible tenets they have.
Well, yeah, because things that I would never even think about doing or even wanted to do would just flash through my head because they said not to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hmm.
And then, of course, that's the sin. I committed a sin. I mean, I was like 6 at the time. You know, so of course I'm going to hell. What am I doing in a church? I mean, I don't know what a little kid's supposed to think about that.
I remember the first time I read about the doctrine of hell in the Bible, I was 4. Yes, I was reading by that time. And I was terrified. I burst into tears and I ran to my mom, "Oh, I'm going to hell." And she says, "Oh, no, no, but it's right
My mom always, I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and to me that's still child abuse. And the fact that you even thought that, and you even uh, decided that you weren't worthy enough to even sit in a church, I think confirms that.
Well,
But
I truly believed it too because my mom's the one that told me that.
mhm. And did you attend church regularly?
Oh, yeah, my grandmother saw to that. And Sunday school for 12 years. She insisted. I hated it.
But you hated it.
Oh, yeah, I
But
hated Sunday school. Oh.
but
It's
at
not
that
exactly
point,
popular among children.
no. And I think whenever in any situation where you force a child to sit still for longer periods of time and just listen, I think it's more of a punishment than anything else. So
Well, with Catholics, there's 3 things you absolutely 100% have to do, and she made sure I did all 3. Or, you know, upon penalty of being thrown out of the family, I guess.
mhm.
You know, baptism. Of course, I had no choice then. And first communion, and then being confirmed. So once I was confirmed, she left me alone.
It's
Sorry, once
ironic.
you were.
Well, I think I know what she's getting at here. Um, in many religious circles, especially in Catholicism, but in other denominations as well, they want to ensure that their families belong to, make sure that they're saved, make sure that they're properly Christian, etc. And with Catholicism, that moment is when you're confirmed, confirmation. And it's ironically what Baptists say about Satan. He will bug you and bug you until you become one of Satan's, and then Satan will leave you alone. But in the Catholic Church, they kind of, that sounds mean, but that's kind of how it is.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it's at least similar. But at that point, were you a strong believer, or were you just let's say rebelling from the get-go?
Both.
Both.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I believe well, you know, it didn't. The rest of the Bible doesn't. Jesus, that's the one that got me. The rest of it, I don't even care about. That's the only part that ever seemed real to me. Was how he went around and preached and that. I mean, not I don't even care about the miracles. Just the going around speaking to people. But
I didn't catch that. Going around and what?
and speaking
Speaking
to
to
people.
people.
Okay.
I mean, you know how they said he drove out demons and what have you. I mean, epilepsy, whatever it was, I don't care. It was the way he spoke to the people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I
His
mean,
charisma, the way he brought people in.
yes, and I mean, real or not, it's still an example of, you know, wanting to help. So yeah, I did him. The rest of it, like Abraham, I mean, that's so far away from me. I can't even connect to the rest of the Bible.
Okay, so I think that's what at least here in Holland most Catholics are. They don't believe in pretty much the entire Old Testament, including Genesis, by the way, which I think still is some kind of weird, because Richard Dawkins mentioned it sometime with an evangelical born again Christian, that he thinks that the only people that have the Bible right are the evangelicals, because at least they acknowledge everything in the Bible, starting with Genesis. And the Catholic Church, I think, is going more and more secular, and only at the moment has a few points where they have strong views. One of them being anti-gay, and so to me at least, and that's not me insulting you, but to me at least, I think that Catholicism is one of the most dishonest religions when it comes to the Bible, because they just reject a lot of it.
Exactly. Just like me.
So,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, in what ways would you perhaps contrast your beliefs from the teachings of the current teachings of the Catholic Church as you understand them?
Well, I'll tell you what, I know a doctor. He went to Ecuador to try to help out, the poor women there,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess it's mostly Catholic. He took a bunch of beads on strings so they could count the days to when they were ovulating,
Oh,
because
okay.
they were absolutely, no birth control whatsoever. So he taught them to use the beads to count when they would be ovulating, because they had so many kids that were starving and, dying in childbirth. And it's just horrible that they would do that,
Right.
forced childbearing. It's, whenever you're in poverty, what the hell is that about? So, no,
Well,
that's horrible.
Christopher Hitchens has done a remarkable few bits on Mother Teresa and what her real views were when it comes to pain, when it comes to suffering, and how pain and suffering are actually good for the person. The torment in a medically severe condition, she wasn't for relieving that. She was for pretty much promoting it, emphasizing it, and saying this helps to purify that person, bring them closer to God. It's in her efforts to help them spiritually, she was kind of having them tortured physically. And I think it's a rather diabolical part of the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Well, this is for soul formation.
Yes. So, do you believe that it is? Okay, so I guess I'm curious about something. What are your feelings about suffering as it relates to what you might say the human soul, the human condition, and how it relates to one's relationship to a god or gods or the Catholic God?
All I can say for sure is that any time that I've ever suffered, mentally or physically, I have grown from it. So
I've been crippled from it.
I'm just saying, is that good? I guess it's good. The suffering was horrible.
I don't know. I've gone through some suffering that I didn't grow from. It actually left me traumatized. It left me crippled. I'm not, completely crippled, but I am definitely diminished in my capability. And traumatized, of course. And I haven't, there are other people who can probably relate.
Oh, yes, I'm traumatized. I'm not saying I'm not. But I have learned from it. I can't lie.
So, to what extent do you think you would agree with the Catholic Church in their estimation that suffering is a good thing for a person and should be allowed to just happen?
And which way do you mean? Like, if they're in pain, you would refuse to give them morphine, or like they're born that way? I don't quite understand what.
I guess I'll ask about Mother Teresa and her efforts to help the poor. She was refusing pain relief and such. And if, suffering pain is a good thing, then should we in fact let them suffer? If it's a bad thing, then why are we letting them suffer? Why are we saying it's a good thing?
Okay, well, if she wants to refuse pain medication, that's on her. Anybody else that would want it, no, give it to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a personal.
So you want to be
choice.
a personal choice, but not withheld from the patient who's
Oh
suffering.
no, never.
Okay.
I've seen too many people suffer. The father of my kids, he died a horrible death of throat cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay, but I mean, without the morphine, even with the morphine, he was in horrible pain. It was torture, so you can't do that to somebody. But yeah, like if she chooses not to take anything, that's.
Right, that's on her. I mean, that's a matter of personal choice.
Exactly.
But I'm talking about the doctrine. I don't even know if it's a doctrine. It's just something that was held so highly by Mother Teresa and her being, being sainted. Obviously, they did not exactly disagree with her in this.
Oh, you mean like the saints and the martyrs and that type of thing?
She's fairly recent.
No, I mean how you have to die a horrible death to become a saint or a martyr. They died. They died horribly.
Many of them did, yes. And many people in other religions also die horribly with convictions just as strong, though many would say their convictions are nonetheless incorrect. And they are dying essentially for no reason.
I can't say for them. I just know about like the martyrs.
Mm-hmm. Voice of the Martyrs and such.
I mean, every single one of them. Burned alive and torn apart by horses and just horrible, horrible deaths to become a martyr or a saint. You didn't die in your sleep, put it that way.
Well, I believe the Catholic Church's requirements for somebody actually being sainted is that they have performed, was it 2 or 3 confirmed miracles?
So,
Um,
yeah.
2. So it takes a little bit more than martyrdom. That's why I'm saying that they obviously approve very much of Mother Teresa, and I'm not sure that they disapprove of what she was doing regarding suffering and torment of those she was allegedly trying to help, ironically.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about the whole story on that one, but it sounds like the whole martyr thing to me. Just like they're,
Well, she would say that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
She would say that they're being brought closer to God, not necessarily that they were becoming saints or that they were becoming martyrs, but they were just becoming closer to God because of their suffering. So I was wondering how you might relate to that or respond to that.
Well, in a way.
But I think you already answered that.
Well, in a way, suffering does purify yourself.
How so?
I don't know if you've ever had the horrible flu so bad that you thought you were going to die.
Yes, I actually had to go in the ER, have IVs and all that.
Yeah. Well, like the day or two after that, I just felt completely, I hate to use the word cleaned out considering we're talking about diarrhea, but I mean mentally cleaned out. Yeah.
I felt a huge amount of relief, but I attribute that to the contrast between feeling normal and feeling like you're going to die.
Yeah, you're right. It's the realization of how feeling normal is so wonderful that you don't realize that on a daily basis.
It does make one appreciate one's life more and realize just how temporal it is.
Yeah, and you're right. I've had abscessed teeth before.
Mm-hmm.
That next to labor, that was the worst pain I've ever had.
Mm.
And not having abscessed teeth is the most amazing feeling every day.
So,
not having horrible pain.
I guess to follow up on that, do you think that there is another way besides having been in such excruciating pain that you could come to the same appreciation for your life had you not gone through it?
No, but because before that, I'm just going along, you know what I mean? I wasn't appreciating anything.
Okay.
Just I would have kept on going on like, I wouldn't even notice anything. I go outside, I don't notice the trees, don't notice any, birds flying around.
Don't notice the trees?
Not if I'm
in Pennsylvania?
Well, I mean, after a while, it's like, oh, boring.
But was it necessary for you, Michele, to experience that pain to start appreciating things?
Yeah, it woke me up.
Okay, fair enough.
And
okay,
I don't mean in a religious way. I mean,
no, I know. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Well, I think I can speak for pretty much everyone I know in the same situation, that if you have had a major setback in life, and that's not necessarily physical pain, but if something happened in your life, you start thinking differently. So that's why I asked, do you think that it would have been necessary to go to through physical pain? Because in my case, it wasn't physical pain, it was just a very bad experience.
Yeah.
And as I said, the people that I know that have had a major setback in life, those are the people that are appreciating things more, I guess, after that experience. So that's why I asked, do you think that only happens with physical pain.
Oh, that's a question. No, of course not.
Okay, but
That, go ahead.
now you are exploring other things. You said you were in between.
Hmm.
So um, how did that come to be, first of all, and how are you exploring?
Well, my dad died a couple years ago.
I'm
He had
sorry to
blood.
hear that.
That's okay.
Uh,
He had he had blood poisoning. He swelled up so much he even popped a leak in his arm. And he knew he was dying, and he was okay with it. My mom totally freaked out though, but he was fine. And the priest came in and gave him last rites, and maybe that meant something, and maybe it didn't. But either way, it calmed him down, and he was happy to go. And I held his hand and told him it was okay to die, and he died fast.
well, I can throw in one of my experiences, because the only real church service I ever attended was in a Catholic church, and it was when the wife of a very close friend of mine died. He was an atheist, and she was a Catholic. And the one thing that I took away from that service is that I found that um, it was something to relieve the pain of those staying behind, and that's so. I wouldn't necessarily call that a bad thing, because it at least helped for the children that were still there, who were very young at that time. I think 15 and 17, if I remember correctly. So for them, at least, it gave a tool to handle the situation. And what I thought at that point, that it must have been some kind of relief, because she knew that she was going to die. She died of cancer, which didn't take that long, um, from being discovered to when she died. So it could give some relief. What I did think is, it, it, maybe it's a relief, but there's no certainty that what you believe is actually going to happen. So it I don't know. I had mixed thoughts about it.
Yeah, rituals help. That's one thing I like about the church, the Catholic Church, the rituals. They do.
There's nothing wrong with rituals. And I think I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Rituals in themselves can be very helpful. That has been documented. I think Sam Harris even talks about that. I'm not sure. It's just the ritual itself, not necessarily that it needs to be a belief in God, but just ritual can help ease our mind. And there are, in fact, atheist congregations, and they also do ritual pretty much just for ritual's sake. I'm not sure what relation ritual actually has with our psychology, but it plays some role in putting us at ease. So I guess my question to you would be, um, being in the Catholic Church right now, what are your thoughts um, about how people outside the Catholic Church might feel in these same exact situations with rituals that may or may not be similar or may not exist? Do you think being in the Catholic Church um, helps, or might that same experience be found outside of it? That same helpful experience, those same factors that can help put you at ease.
I don't know. I don't see how. Maybe for people that haven't experienced you know, from a little kid till now, Catholic rituals. I don't think I could appreciate anywhere else. But the Catholic ones, I don't know why, I just love them.
Probably because Catholics do have an eye for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
I will say they know how to do pretty.
Yeah, I know they overdo it.
Maybe a little bit.
It always makes me think of starving African children.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
can relate.
Yep.
Because they know how to do pretty and expensive and wasteful.
Yeah. His whenever I see his big golden chair, I'm thinking of a little kid sitting there in the dirt starving. So yeah, it's pretty, but I don't care for it.
But what I wanted to get at is your journey towards maybe something else.
Uh,
Are you actively exploring um, your beliefs and whether or not there is a God and whether or not the claims are valid, or how does that manifest?
well, I until I came on here on Twitter, I think it was December, maybe. I've never even been an atheist before that. So this is all kind of new to me. I mean,
Which I
around,
commend you for. I mean, this is really, having been there myself, coming out of an evangelical background, even just talking to an atheist, let alone going on air, is a remarkable step. So I commend you just on your ability to have the nerve to talk to the evil atheists.
oh, I love the atheists. I do. They're great. You guys are
Oh, well,
great.
thank you.
No, you guys are great. You're the most caring bunch. I'm serious.
I try. I'm just me.
You're so cute. You're so cute. No, I'm serious though. But most of 90, probably 95% of the people I talk to on Twitter are atheists. I just get along with them.
And what do you think is different in talking to an atheist as opposed to talking to a theist?
Just there's so much more. They're funny and more carefree and caring. They're definitely more caring. You know, if I have a bad day and I have a crying fit, they'll actually sit there and listen to me. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, we don't have the preconceived notion that you're having difficulties due to personal sin.
Uh-huh.
We understand the science behind, well, even if we don't understand the science behind it, we understand that there is science behind it, and that it's not necessarily due to any sin on the part of the one who's suffering, mentally, emotionally, physically, neurologically, what have you.
The first person I met here was House of Compassion, and he was an atheist Satanist, which I still don't quite get. But he seemed so scary at first, and he turned out to be wonderful.
Well, I think there is some kind of a common misconception, because I don't know where he's at the moment, but there's a Satanist church, as they call it, which isn't actually a church, and they're pretty much atheists, and it's just like the Church of the Spaghetti Monster.
Oh, I hate
Just
that thing.
yeah, but that's just to show people that it's the people behind it. Um, how do I explain this? It's a setup church just to show that you can believe in something that's absolutely not true, but it depends on the people behind it and the actions of the people behind it. And I know for a fact that the Satanist church tries to do a lot of good. Um, uh, Set up programs for children in schools. They try to help with when there's a problem with children getting meals when they're staying over at school. So it's not a church worshiping Satan, at least not all of them. I think that if you were to look at the Satanists, least of them do. Um,
Well, there are theistic Satanists who actually do worship what they call Satan, and then there are the non-theistic Satanists, and that Church of Satan is headed up by, I believe, Lucian Greaves.
mhm.
And the non-theistic Satanists, they're pretty much a kind of a human rights, um, personal rights, individual rights, freedom of speech type of organization. It also does have tenets, commandments, if you will, that are intended to show the absurdity and cruelty of the Ten Commandments. I mean, if you look at the first, I think, 4 commandments, they're all centered on, God saying, worship me, love me. It has nothing to do with how you're actually treating people. It's all
Yeah.
Yeah,
about a narcissist wanting everybody to bow down and worship him. That's basically what the first 4 commandments boil down to. Obey me, worship me, give 1 day of the week to me, do not do any work, and if you do, you get stoned. That's great.
That's exactly it. That's what he's against. He's
Mhm.
against any kind of child abuse, any kind of you know, anything bad, anything against children or women, that has to do with the Bible. You know how it's okay to
Mhm.
rape them, stone them,
Yeah.
sell
yeah,
them. He has a total fit about all that. And I guess
Well,
part of
so
the
do the
thing,
women and children being stoned. They have a total fit too.
yeah, I mean, he gets furious. I don't blame him. People believe this stuff. They did then and they do now. I saw a woman, this guy sends me, he sends me, because he's a conservative and I'm not, and I don't know how this started, but he sends me beheadings and stonings. I don't look anymore. I learned my lesson. I don't look anymore, but I did look once. And there was a woman buried up to her elbows, getting hit with rocks. And it just, I can't even explain it. It's worse than what I could ever explain. And I'm just saying, that's religion for you. Then what did she do to deserve that? Probably hardly anything. But I learned my lesson on clicking on his links.
Did you grow as a person from that suffering?
I'm sorry?
I'm making an out of color joke. I said, did you learn or did you grow as a person from that suffering? Clicking
Me or
on his
her?
links. You.
Yeah. I don't want to see it again, but I did, yeah. Because now I know what they are.
Well, I've had some pretty nasty experiences in fundamentalism myself.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have another guest.
no, I think that was Alex.
Yeah, that was Alex.
Yeah.
She saw a baby on TV, so she had to go, oh.
Okay.
She heard you.
But where do you think you'll be in let's say a year, Michele?
I'm sorry. He said hi. Sorry.
Hi, Alex.
In a year, I haven't the slightest idea. I really don't.
Yeah, because when I see you on Twitter, I think you have more in common with the atheists than you do with any theists. I've never seen you proselytize in any way. I've never um, for lack of better words, I've never seen you say anything good about the religion you're in.
Nope. And you're right.
So I guess
I do love the atheists.
I do
So
have
what?
one question.
Go ahead.
Um, in your opinion, I don't know if you've thought about this or not. What would you say is the biggest thing holding you back from letting go of what you seem to be finding a rather somewhat cruel belief system. What's
Do you
holding you
mean
back?
do you mean like wanting there to be an afterlife?
I mean, just if there was one factor that's holding you into it, that's holding you there, what would you say it is?
That, like I said, that 99.999%, that
Right,
point,
it's the point one,
yes, the
point
point
zero
1%.
zero zero one. But
Yep.
think about this. Catholics have the same dilemma. What if, I mean, they, many of them believe there's 100% chance they're right. But what
Uh-huh.
if they're not? And what if Odin is going to be the final one judging them when they die? What if it's Shiva? What if it's Allah, and then you're going to be sent to a hell of having boiling water poured on you? I mean,
Could
it's
heck,
not.
could be Anubis.
So I'm saying that, I mean, if you wanted to say it's the 0.0001% chance, just in case, you would need to really apply that to any belief system there is. And in which case, you'd need to be kind of a super theist. I just accept them
Yeah.
all just on the off chance that it might be true. I'm going to go worship Shiva this day and Allah that day, just for insurance.
See, here's what it is. It's not on the off chance that's true. It's that, oh, I hope and wish that's true. Because
Yeah,
I can't stand the thought of never seeing my family again. So I so hope it's true.
it's very
I'm gonna see my
understandable.
I'm gonna see my dad said that. I can't stand the thought of him not existing.
Hmm.
It's
I've
like,
heard
what?
this. Well, one thing that's helped me with that, I understand where you're coming from. One thing that's been passed around lately, and I have to agree with it, is where were you in, say, the Revolutionary War? Were you alive then?
Are you talking about
Just the Revolutionary War, just, when the Declaration of Independence was being written up, when wars were being fought, um, where were we? And how did it feel?
do you mean like reincarnation or
No, 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 nothing like that. Where were we and how did it feel?
oh, you mean before we were born, how did we exist? Is that what you mean?
Did we exist?
Oh, did we exist?
And, uh-huh,
I Isn't it Einstein that said energy never dissipates, it just transforms? It never
Uh,
actually disappears.
law of conservation of energy.
Yeah, there had to be something, some sort of energy. Who know? I have no idea what, but there had to be. Because when I saw my dad died. I watched the life go out of him, and that had to go somewhere. I know it did. I'm not saying it was a soul. I'm just saying it was something.
well, I can jump in at this because last November my mother died and I was there when that happened, and I just have a different view. Um, I've tried to research what life actually is, and as far as we know now, life is just a chemical reaction. There's nothing to us. It's special because we can experience it, and but it's actually just a chemical reaction, and like any other chemical reaction, it just stops at some point, and that doesn't mean it goes anywhere because there's nothing that even has the ability to go anywhere. Um, and to me, I'd have to say my mother at least had for the last few decades had a good life. She was happy where she was when she died, and pretty much was saddled with the fact, if I stick around for, she was 84, and she had the idea, if I stick around for another 20 years, that's fine. If I go today, that's fine too, because I pretty much experienced everything I wanted to experience. So but she didn't have the idea of going anywhere after that. It was just over. It was done. It was finished. And that's how I was raised, and I still don't have a problem with it. If it's over, it's over, and that's it. And to me, if you say, is there an afterlife? Yes, there is, but the afterlife is the people you leave behind, and the thoughts they will have remembering you. That's pretty much the afterlife for me.
No, I understand what you're saying.
I guess what I was trying to say is from coming from a Christian perspective, personally, there's that feeling, that void of, oh no, I mean, the ultimate statistics, 10 out of 10 people die. We're gonna die. What happens? Who do I see? What do I experience? Where do we go? And one thing that's helped me as an atheist, as a naturalist, somebody who does accept evolution and um, the natural consequences of it, and my lack of belief in a God or an afterlife. I had some issues with this for a very long time, and I still do on occasion. But one thing that's been really making it a little bit more clear is I wasn't alive during the Revolutionary War. It hasn't hurt me. I have not been any the worse for it. And when I die, for, all evidence that we can see points to that existence or non-existence resuming. I'm not going to be any the worse for it. And nobody that in my family or anybody that I've cared about who has experienced death, they're also not any the worse for it either. They're all right.
Well, I read a lot about the Holocaust, especially the camps. And
Mm-hmm.
if there's no kind of hell whatsoever, after what I read, I can't think of anything more cruel and unfair.
Yes. Are you aware of the sentence that is written in one of the camps?
Something about God will have to, I forget,
Yes.
apologize to me. Yeah.
Some one of them wrote on a wall, if there is a God, when I die, he needs to apologize to me.
Yeah.
Which I at least thought was very significant. And what I find even more troubling is that in some religions, and I think maybe even in Catholicism, is that if you just repent at the very last moment, you still go to heaven.
I know that's my mom's plan.
So
That's what,
what would have been the punishment for, let's say, a guy like Hitler? If he really repented at the very last moment, then he's completely off the hook.
it could.
There is no punishment.
That's stupid. It couldn't possibly work that way. The reason I'm laughing is because that's my mom's backup plan to get to heaven is to repent at the very last second. But I don't know why that's funny to me. But and even if you repent, you still have to pay the price of what you did, regardless. You know what I mean? So just like a criminal going to jail, he can apologize to his victim, but he's still got to go.
Yes, and that's what I think is very different with a religious system, because then, uh, as I said, you'd be off the hook.
Yeah, that's stupid. I don't know who came up with that.
Um, as far as I know, that's just what the Bible
Yeah,
says.
I know, but I'm just saying that. Like I said with the camps, though. I mean, I mean, they put them in cell block 11, the starvation cage. They would give them water, but they wouldn't give them any food. I mean,
Hmm.
over and over and over this happened, and they're just going to get away with it. That's what I can't take.
So here's a thought for you. If somebody's sick and they need a specific medicine that's very rare, but it's not available, they need it, they want it. Does needing and wanting it make it available?
No.
No. Does needing and wanting for there to be an afterlife make it true?
Of course not, but I can hope.
We can hope, but um, just like with any, any thought system, our hope, our faith, our trust, our wishes, our needs, does that make it true? And does hoping for something to be true, wishing for something to be true, not that I can say that there is no afterlife, but does that wish, is that wish in and of itself something to hold a person into Catholicism, Mormonism, um, Islam, anything? I mean, why do we stay in a religion? Do we stay in it because we hope that it's true, or because we believe that it actually does hold the truth of everything?
Uh, the Catholic Church does a lot of stupid things, but it also has a lot of good things to it too. That's the only reason I still hang around.
Many things do.
Yeah,
I get.
obviously, no, it's not that. I'm not going,
Mhm.
but I still like the fact of. I mean, like Pope Francis, how he goes out and he all the disabled kids. I mean, yeah, you might say it's nothing, but it means something to them. I mean, he'll kiss the ones with the the horrible bumps and rashes, and the parents are crying, and it gives them hope. So why take that away?
Okay, now
Well, it
now
would.
now I need to throw in a question. When
Mm,
you mentioned that the Catholic Church is the richest church we have on earth.
yep,
Thank you.
They have billions. They could actually help these children, and they don't.
I know.
All they do is uh, give some of them a little attention,
A kiss.
but
A homeless
that's
person giving
yes,
that child a kiss.
yes.
And
If
now,
I were in the position of that pope and I had that amount of money uh, to spend, I would actually do something.
and to
So
not do it, what does the law call it when we're standing next to something horrendous happening and we neglect to do anything about it?
yes,
Isn't it called gross negligence or criminal negligence? And if
yeah,
we see the Pope, the leader of the richest organization on the earth, sitting there, standing next to a child, as you said, with bumps, I know I'm a little bit worked up, but I'm not angry at you at all. Please understand that. It's the Pope. But if he is, as you say, standing next to this child with mumps or bumps of some other sort or some awful disease, and he is close enough to lean over and give him a kiss, and he walks away. What does that tell you about the morality of this organization? And could you find a better set of morals somewhere else that would at least help a child?
Some places do. UNICEF and Catholic Church does do things sometimes. Yeah, they could sell everything.
They wouldn't even have to sell everything. That child, I'm talking about this child that he leans over and kisses.
Right.
That can give him hope that maybe the Pope has noticed him and will do something besides going off in his
How can
Pope-mobile.
you choose? How can you choose? There's thousands. There's millions.
There's a child right in front of him. There
Yeah,
is
and
one.
then there's 10 down the row, and there's 20 behind them, and there's 30 in front, and they're all suffering, and they're all deformed, and they're all in pain. And
I know,
I
know that
But
he's
they,
not God, and he can't take care of all of them all at once. I understand that. But as a person who is in a specific time at a specific place with another specific suffering person right next to him, he, as the Pope, has the power to put his resources to work to help that life that is available to be helped at that point in time.
Yes, he does.
Might there be something lacking when that doesn't happen? That person might be given hope, as you said, but does hope cure? I understand it can have good positive effects to have hope. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the specific disease. Does hope cure on its own in the absence of essential medications to bring relief?
Oh, I see what you're getting at. No.
If they are giving hope,
Wait a minute. Who is that refuses blood transfusions?
that's Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them die on TV. I know that doctor I know, he's seen them die. They wouldn't do it. He tried to get them to he really, really tried to talk them into it, but nope. They died.
yes, but does that in any way diminish what the Pope does, giving someone hope he could actually help?
I understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying that there are people who give hope and then
And it
give a concrete solution. They give actual relief. I'm talking here about things like, Doctors Without Borders. It's, I think, headed up in France, but it's an international organization. And they do give hope, but they also spend their resources on fixing the problem instead of just walking around and saying, I'm giving hope to people. Let's give them something to really hold on to besides just hope.
Well, like I said, that emergency room doctor I know does both.
My goodness, my stomach's making weird noises. I wish that was being edited out.
Yes,
so
the church
what what I
but it doesn't. I don't know why.
what I want to make clear at this point, Michele, is not that we're attacking you,
Not at all,
because
no.
when I look at your conversations on Twitter, I think you are a better human being than the current Pope.
I would firmly
Because
agree.
because
Well,
because
it's
be,
go ahead.
because you have compassion and you do care. And what I see when a Pope steps up to a sick child and does nothing and walks away, to me, that's a clear sign of someone having no compassion at all.
Yeah. And no, I don't think you're attacking me. I'm irritated because they don't do more. And I don't understand why they don't. That's never been explained to me.
No. But I also want to say that it is not just the Pope. I think uh, a lot of religions lack in this. I don't see a lot of religions that at least have the amount of money to actually do something. When I look at, for instance, Joel Osteen, and when I look at Ken Ham, who can spend millions on a fake ark, where those millions could have gone to a lot better use. So
I keep
and
I keep saying that thing. people, tweeting about it. I'm so sick of seeing that arc. Yes, because it is. It's a waste.
Yeah.
To be
And
clear, we're not saying
just
that
just throwing it in here. Charis, are you on the chat
I
in the
am.
stream itself? No, the one
no.
we're talking on. Okay.
Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah, I forgot that. So would that weigh for you, Michele, to reconsider your beliefs, knowing all this?
No, because I don't know. I've never talked to them. I've never, I don't know the whole story, and I never will. Yes, it's horrible. It's vulgar. But like I said, I will not, I can try to go to the Vatican even. I'll never know. I have no idea. I grew up with it. It's ingrained in me. I don't.
And you know what? That's completely understandable.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm seeing, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I am seeing an awesome person who is in a religious system with many other awesome people. That religious system promotes certain theologies, certain worldviews, certain ideologies and practices that go against the naturally good morals, the natural compassion of many of these awesome people within its umbrella.
Yeah.
Your natural compassion, your morality is higher than what the world has seen from this organization itself, not from necessarily many of the members within it. There are other places which are better are shown to actually act on the morality that you're showing.
Mm-hmm.
They actually do things to help. And I understand that people within the Catholic Church, they do things to help. I know that. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just saying that consider that the Catholic Church is not the only place where you're going to find these things which you very rightfully hold dear. You want to help people. You want to see people helped. You love beauty and you do like ritual. And those are all fine. And those can also be found without, outside of the Catholic religion and outside of any religion. They are not exclusive to Catholicism.
That's true.
If that was to be swimming around in your mind for a while, and you were to kind of, wrestle with it a bit, after seeing that, if you were to come to the same conclusion, after that, what then would be holding you into Catholicism? Specifically, theism in general, but Catholicism in particular.
I would always have like a string attached to my heel in a way, you know what I mean?
Right.
The church. But I would happily go into somewhere that was atheist and be around people like that. Because, like I said, they're just totally different kinds of people.
I think it really comes down to people being people.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I'm not used to it. I have, I've not. Before,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, before I met you guys, it was a shock. I've never been around it before.
I came out of the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church, and I can completely understand where you're coming from with that. When I was there, people like Richard Dawkins, he was like the devil incarnate almost. Atheist was a curse word and something to be feared and hated and avoided.
Oh, it is here.
I know.
Yeah.
And ironically, when I came out of, as I was coming out of religion, all of religion, not just fundamentalism, but all of religion. Ironically, Richard Dawkins himself showed more compassion in a retweet than I got from my church.
Aw.
Now, he got attacked for that, and so did I. I had my account shut down for like a day or two because people just started, reporting me because they have reasons to, I guess. But
Wow.
it was a shock to see compassion coming from um, Satan, whereas the church that I had been in had done nothing but condemn.
That's so funny because
And
that's what my friend House says too. The Satanist.
uh-huh.
He says about compassion from Satan.
Well, think of it. Who
Yeah.
killed more? Satan never did complete genocide on the entire human race and every other species, I might add, that didn't have the breath of life. That was, I mean, it's pretty telling when people say, "Oh, you atheists and secularists just want to play God by killing these people," and Hitler wanted to play God. It's pretty telling when when even they know that playing God means killing everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot about the God that they believe in.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because you sound just like him.
Oh,
I've heard him say. No, he's good though. I've heard him say it many times, and it's true. That's maybe I should become,
Okay.
maybe I should become a Satanist. I don't know.
I think we're pretty much coming to the end. I just wanted to throw something out because there's someone in the chat on the stream who wants to come in after this, and we just exchanged, and so it's fine. My 70 cents, 77 cents. If you want to come in, go to Twitter, go to the DM. I'll send you a link there so you can join the conversation later. So, having had this talk, Michele, what did you take anything away from it, as far as theism and atheism goes?
Yes. It's going to take a couple days for it to sink in completely because that's just how my mind works.
took me months.
But at
Just
the
like
moment,
they say everything's a journey. I mean, coming to religion, they say it's a journey. It's the same thing leaving for many people. Some
yeah.
people it's switch of the light bulb, but for me it was a journey. So, whichever way you choose, you are obviously a beautiful person.
Oh, thank you.
So,
So are you. And oh, I love you on here, by the way. You're very good. I hope you stay.
I'll have to jump into that one as well, because I think the major consensus in the chat is that they all love Charis coming in.
Yes.
So I think I made a good pick in who's going to be my co-host.
I mean, she made an excellent
I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, go.
I'm kidding. I can hold it.
You're not watching the chat in here, I guess.
Okay,
Who are you talking to?
To you, Charis.
Oh yeah, I've been watching it off and on.
Yeah, because I already said go.
Oh, oops. Oh well.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay,
I'll wait till
Okay.
the end of it.
Yeah, but there's someone else wanting to come in,
Right.
so I think it might be better to go now if you want to go.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
You guys really helped me out today. Because now I
Thank you.
now I got a lot of things to think about.
Thank you so much for
Well,
coming on. I know it can be
Yes.
nerve-wracking.
So yeah, thank you.
And I hope
Well,
that, I'm sorry.
that's
Go ahead.
mainly the cause of my channel, is to make people think, and if we achieve that, then we at least achieved the goal that I'm after. And yeah, I think both Charis and I think that you're a good person, and that has nothing to do with any kind of religion or what you believe. And as for me, I said it before, I think you're a better person than most in your religion. So
Yeah, thank you. You know, there is one thing that we did skip though, and it's embarrassing.
Oh, what's that?
Huh?
What's that?
How it affected me sexually.
What's that?
How the Catholic teachings affected me sexually.
That's very common.
Yeah, it's bad.
Don't even feel embarrassed about that. That's extremely common. And the fundamentalist church affected me as well. So you're in good company.
Well, I feel ruined, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, well, I'm sure you were taught the same thing.
Possibly. Baptists and Catholics do vary quite a bit on some things and have much in common. But it may have been the same general type of effect with some pronounced differences.
Yes, it's bad, it's evil, the woman's always the bad one. You know.
Basically.
And I feel cheated. I really do.
Yeah.
It even makes me feel like crying, actually. But, you know, because
I'm sorry.
it would really be nice to live normal.
It can strip a person, even men. I mean, men don't feel like they have much of a choice in how they are allowed to assume what role they want with the person that they're with.
Mm-hmm.
So even they feel controlled. And many times we women forget about that part because of the extent to which we're controlled. I mean, it is to a much larger extent. We're stripped of our autonomy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like there should be nothing there. That's pretty much how they taught it. Like a Barbie doll, kind of.
We have a purpose. That's basic, and well, a few purposes, which is probably part of a different talk.
Yeah.
Because that is opening a huge can of worms. But yes, I understand how you feel, though I understand our details will be different from one another. But in general, well, again, you're in good company.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that, you know, you wanted to know the worst thing that came out of being Catholic. That was it. I felt like I missed out on something that everybody else got to do, and I felt cheated by them. I don't know if I'm right or not, but that was all.
Peter, do you have anything to say?
okay. No, I think we can. What would be my idea is to wrap it up here, because Michele already said she has stuff to think about. So what I would like to do is maybe in a week or a little bit later have a follow-up conversation and see if
Just see where
something.
you're at.
Yeah, to see what happened after this. Would that be okay, Michele?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. And so we still have someone who wants to come in.
I think
So
he said that he didn't want to come in today.
he didn't want to come in?
77,
so
if you could confirm if I'm reading that correctly, that'd be great.
I don't know. So my 70 cents, let me know if you want to come in. I have you on Twitter and I have you on the DM where you didn't respond. If you want to come in, I'd be glad to have you on. So just let me know in the chat, in the stream, if you want to come on, so I can send you the link.
Someone said it was somebody else who said that they would come in, but we should probably at least go to break.
Yeah, you want to take a short break. You can at least, for as far as I'm concerned, take a short break and come back later. Yeah. So Michele, I really want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
I think
it was like therapy.
Yeah, you said you would be nervous. How did it go? What do you think?
Oh, good. Once I got going, I'm fine. It's just waiting for it to happen.
Okay, but at least we gave you stuff to think about.
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
Okay. So yeah, I also want to say that I think it's courageous to do this. It's not something everyone wants to do, and everyone can do, because it is talking in public, and that's not something that is the easiest of things. It's quite a bit different than sending out a tweet on Twitter, even though that's public as well. But I think it was a good conversation, and I'd love to have you back at any given point to see where you are.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's gonna take a while for it to sink in completely and process it, but yeah, I'd love to. It was fun.
Okay.
Well,
So
it was fun, as in getting in there, into your deep thoughts, where I don't. I just pass them over.
mm-hmm.
So now they've come to the surface. So it was good.
Yeah, as I said, the point really is to make people think, and what I've seen in a lot of people is that and when I say a lot of people, a lot of religious people, is that they are pretty much set in their ways and don't spend a lot of time thinking about these ways that they're set in. And having a talk like this, I'm not necessarily trying to deconvert people, although I still think, and I have to be honest, I still think that would be the best thing. But at least having people think and reconsider about what they actually believe is I think at least is a good thing. And so the fact that you're open to that is a good thing. And we'll see where it takes you. It could take you either way, I think.
Yeah, well, you know what happened to me? My grandmother told me when I was about 12. She told me never ever question the Pope. And at that moment is when I started to question everything. And I'm doing it ever since, and I think everybody should do it, actually.
Think of it this way: if what the Pope says is true, there should be no fear of questions. It should stand up. It should stand to the truth. It should stand to the examination by truth.
Well, that's what I was doing, was questioning the Pope. That's why she said that to me. And why shouldn't I? Even at 12, I knew that. I didn't tell her, but that's when I started to question everything.
If it's true, it'll stand. Bring the questions.
How does that saying go? People with nothing to hide nothing.
That's not true. When you go to the bathroom, you still hide it. You have nothing to be ashamed of, but you still hide.
Not some people.
True.
I unfortunately have known people that could care less who watches them.
Oh, well, that's another subject.
Yeah, let's skip that one.
Okay, I'm throwing it in here. I think we can pretty much end it here. The next question will be, what are we going to do? I just heard my 70 cents can't come on because he's still at work at the moment, which I think is a pity. What I want to throw out is the idea of having some kind of an after show to just reflect on what we just did, and maybe some of the people in the chat want to join us there. What do you think about that, Charis?
Sounds fine by me.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I think maybe that's what we should do. I'll let the people in the chat know, and you want to wrap things up?
Hey, I have one suggestion. Sometime you have to interview Charis.
I already did.
Oh, damn it. I missed it.
It's okay. It's on his. It's in his videos.
Okay.
Just look for the
It's-
picture of the burger.
I love the
It's
burger. Okay.
It's a little heavy.
yes. It's not as lighthearted as this one.
Okay. I would really like to hear it.
Well, it's
Or-
it's
no.
still there. I'll link you to it on Twitter.
Okay, thanks. Should I get off here now, or what am I doing?
Yeah, we can wrap it up here.
Okay.
For the people who want to come in on the after show, I'll be setting up a new stream, and I'll tweet that out. I see a couple of people that already follow me when I'm pretty quick. My 77 cents follows me. Keith, I think, is a follower. BJ is a follower. Jackson and Renee. So I think we'll have something like a 15-minute break and then come back on. Is that good
Sure.
with you, Charis?
Yep.
Okay. So, Michele, thank you very much for this chat, and we had a previous one offline as well. So I'll be curious. We'll talk on Twitter and set a new date and do some kind of a follow-up of this.
Okay, sounds good.
And thanks a lot for coming on, because I knew you had mixed thoughts before, and I think you did great, and you didn't have anything to worry about, I think. So I'll be happy to have you on the next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone who was listening in live and was in the chat, and we'll all see you in what would be the after show, and you can let us know what you thought of the new format. So thanks for now, and see you all in 15 minutes, about 15 minutes. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Charis.
Bye.